Youth are the future of any country. In Pakistan, we are blessed that 64% of our population is under the age of 30. जहाँ ये बहुत सारे challenges लेकर आता है, वहीं पे ये बहुत सारे मौके भी लेकर आता है. एक पाकिस्तानी youth के लिए सबसे बड़ा missing gap है ऐसे लोग होना, ऐसे role models होना जो उनके अपने हो. आपको याद है जब हम छोटे थे तो हमारी कहानियों में सारे characters हमसे बिल्कुल मुख्तलिफ थे. लेकिन अब वक्त बदल गया है. Now is the time that we need to introduce our youngsters to role models who are amongst us. और इसीलिए इस प्रोग्राम इन द अरीना में मैं आपकी मुलाकात कराऊंगी कुछ ऐसे पाकिस्तानी लोगों से जिन्होंने अपना बिजनेस में, अपने कारोबार में, अपने काम में एक बड़ा नाम पैदा किया है इन द यूएई. ऐसी ही एक शख्सियत से आज आपकी मुलाकात कराएंगे. आई एम गोइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस द CEO एंड ओनर ऑफ जोन्स द ग्रोसर टुडे, यूनीब सिद्दीकी. You were born in Karachi and spent
Yes.
the initial 9 years there.
Correct, 9 years.
What memories come to your mind?
I remember the school, you know, I had a lot of friends. We lived in an area of Karachi called PCHS.
Right.
A small road called Harley Road. And we had a beautiful, small but nice house. A lot of friends in the mohalla. So it was a really nice, played cricket on the street.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a nice memory.
Yeah. You and your
My sister still lives in Karachi.
Oh, she does?
Yeah. Well, she moved back from Canada, so
Okay.
she went to Canada then moved back. But yeah, she's in Karachi.
Were you the elder one?
Yeah.
You were the elder one. How was the boarding school experience? You were what, 13? एक 13 साल के नौजवान को
Yeah, I mean, look,
वो भी इकलौता बेटा off to the boarding school.
Honestly speaking, I trying to think. I used to keep a diary, so I did actually look at my diary.
Yeah.
You know, I never put any things in there that implied that I was afraid or didn't.
Okay.
So it seemed like even my memories, the written ones and the spoken one, or the ones that are in my head, are all very positive.
Right.
Yeah, there was this element that there was only 5 colored guys
Okay.
in my year, in the whole year, in the whole school, like 400 kids.
Yeah.
So, but it just didn't occur to me at the time as a challenge. And the school were very accommodating. You know, my parents gave them a letter that, oh, he doesn't eat pork and he doesn't go to church. So I didn't have to do all those things.
Right.
But funnily enough, in the end, I ended up going to church because it was so much fun. And you know.
Excellent. And then, so London was home then?
Yes, I went to school in Devon, which
Right.
is the one of the southwest corner of England. And I was there 5 years. And then after that, I went to London School of Economics.
Right.
I did international trade and development there. Around the second set of exams, I didn't pass auditing, which was...
You did not pass auditing?
I was doing auditing, but I didn't pass auditing. So I had to redo the exams.
Right.
In fact, that year, the whole syllabus changed.
Okay.
So I had to do a completely new syllabus. It wasn't just a normal reset.
Okay.
And I got my residency around that time in England.
Okay.
And I had this business idea that I'd got from visiting Nairobi, going out with my current wife, who I met first year at university.
Right.
First year, first week.
I'm saying that was quick. First year,
First week, yeah. I was quick off the mark, yeah. And so my mother got cancer and she was in Canada, so she was being treated. And she sort of recovered after the treatment, and I'd taken some sabbatical.
Okay.
And this was the time I'd failed the exam. So my partner had said, listen, take a sabbatical, go see your mother, a senior partner at work. And then after that, make your mind up what you want to do. Because I was still debating whether I wanted to do the accounting thing. And after my mother recovered, I left Montreal and went to Kenya. Okay. Because her family originally is from Kenya. And so I spent time there, and I had this idea that I should be doing something completely different, which was selling handicrafts and carvings and all these things that people sell in Nairobi. So I came back and I bought a container load.
Wow.
And I told my partner that yes, I'm going to take another year off work.
What makes one take a risk and a decision like that so swiftly? I don't know if it was swift. Now, in recollection, it sounds so.
No, it was swift.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about being young is, at least in my case, was that I didn't think very. I didn't have this inner voice telling me don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
My inner voice got much worse now as I've got older.
Okay, so that's how it started, and you started with homeware and all these handicrafts.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
handicrafts
Yeah, and then
homeware.
we set up. Well, I set up this business. We had a wholesale catalog.
Right.
Photographed all the products, put it into a brochure, went to all the trade shows, and then we had a warehouse, and we supplied all the shops in London, Selfridges, Harrods.
Yeah.
The business grew. In fact, my first large order was from Harrods, and then the business sort of grew from there.
How did the switch to a completely different industry, from homeware to food and beverage? How did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it was one of those things where everything in life reaches its cycle. The business did really well for about 16, 17 years.
Right.
And then I'd say mid to late 90s, China came along, resin molding products. So we were selling handmade, statues from Zimbabwe, from South Africa,
Yeah.
wooden things that were hand carved. And we get the Chinese guys show up at our exhibition stand at Birmingham and take something, say, oh, can we take a sample? And we were naive, we'd give them the sample.
No,
and what
and
they resin
exactly.
mold them in
Yeah.
China, and they'd sell them for
Wow.
like 20 cents, 30 cents.
Did you actually decide this is it and then jump into food and beverage? Or
Yeah, I mean, there was a decline. So we were quite a large business with high margin,
Okay.
and it started becoming increasingly lower revenue business, but high margin.
Okay.
Which meant that the end absolute profit amount,
Yeah.
was
decreasing.
decreasing,
Yeah.
even though the margin was decent.
Right.
And so we actually, in the end, I sold off a part of the business. I didn't actually close it 100%. My wife was left in charge of closing it. And I had at that time been going to Vietnam for this other business that I had selling directly to the US.
Okay.
And I'd stopped in Singapore and I'd seen or heard about Jones opening. And then I got on the plane and
listing.
I saw it in a magazine called Wallpaper, like a 2-page thing. And I thought, this is fortuitous.
This is it.
ये तो
It's
करना है.
meant to be.
करना है, yeah. And so I got back to London and I then started calling all the stores in Australia for Jones at the
Right.
time and left voicemail messages everywhere saying, get in touch with me, I'm really interested in opening a store. And the guy eventually sent me a message back or called me back. And we met in Singapore like 3 weeks later.
Right.
2 of my friends, both of them worked at Abraj at the time.
Okay.
And both of them were at LSE with me. One of them was. The other one I knew from London.
Okay.
And they both convinced me, Yunib, Dubai mein karna hai, it's the best place. Forget about UK. Khatam ho raha hai udhar, idhar aa jao. So there was that kind of a conversation. We'll fund it.
Right.
We'll help you. We'll put money in. So I kind of fell for it.
So did you open the London cafe?
No, so I got back and
Oh, wow.
I started discussions with my wife, who told me, "Are you expletive crazy?
Yeah. Seen enough
the
with
kids
you."
are like at school and they're like, great place. We've got them in here and they're happy. We have a nice home. Why on earth do you want to move?" And I said, "Listen, I just think it's the right thing to do."
How did you convince the Begum?
I came back. I did the
Tipping point, kya
I
tha?
did the business model. We spent quite a bit of time. I spent quite a bit of time in Dubai and Abu Dhabi writing this thing. The 2 friends had committed some of the funds. I had taken a small mortgage on my house
In London?
In London.
Wow.
So it was all in place. Then I told her, look, we're going to do this. And I think she was on board. So I came to Abu Dhabi and Dubai and I started looking at sites. And what really happened essentially was that nobody in Dubai wanted to see me because the market was booming. At the time, I don't know if you remember 2009,
Yes.
before the
Yeah,
crash.
yeah.
Every Tom, Dick and Harry was investing in real estate.
Yeah.
The bubble was at its
Up high. Yeah.
Rents were probably what they are now. Someone said to me, go and have a look at this site in Abu Dhabi. So I went to have a look at this site and it was, I did some homework, went to the car park, counted the cars, did all that stuff.
Yeah. I want you to share that because generally, it doesn't come. If the likes of Starbucks and everything, everybody had said no, this is not a place worth investing.
Yeah, Boots had looked at it. All the Al Shaya brands had looked at it.
What you did in the car park, if you could share that.
Yeah, so I mean, look,
Very desi form
there
of
were-
research,
there
but very
were
good
two,
one.
three things. There are two things I did actually. The
Yeah.
one thing was I looked at the tenancy mix of the building,
Right,
and one of the tenants was the Crown Prince's Court
right.
and Abu Dhabi Executive Affairs Authority, and they were relocating there. And I talked to designers who were designing these offices, and there was no budget as such. It was just limitless budget. So that guy used to come down to what was a small coffee shop in that near that building. And I not in this building, but in another building nearby. And I happened to just chance upon him. And he said, "Oh, this is going to be amazing. All these people are going to move in." So that was one data point.
Yeah.
The other one, there was a travel agency in building
In
A.
one of the
There were two
buildings.
buildings.
Yeah.
Building B was the one we were going into. They're both next to each other.
Right.
And in building A on the ground floor, there was a travel agent inside the building, so you couldn't get to it unless you went through security.
Okay.
And he said to me, and I asked him, how many economy tickets you issue? He said none. I said, how many business class tickets? He says, yeah, 50%. So what about the rest at first class?
First class.
So I knew straight away that this is
this
all
gonna be a good spot.
people who will spend money.
Yeah.
And then the third point was the car park, which I was still skeptical. So I went and looked at the car park, and I counted like the Porsches and the all the SUVs driving in, and it was. And I had a ticker. I'd bought this ticker from London, and I was counting every day. I'd clocked them on a spreadsheet.
Really?
It's
How
just
many
2
days
days,
did you
2
do
days,
it?
2
Okay,
days
2
in the
days,
car.
okay,
Well,
yeah.
once it was the beginning of the week and the end of the week.
Right.
And it was clear that all the models were like expensive, cars.
Wow.
And so I said, this has to be the spot.
Yeah.
And so I signed the lease, paid a deposit from the first drawdown that we all put into the company. But the day the other two found out that it was Abu Dhabi, they both pulled out.
No.
Yeah, they said Abu Dhabi isn't sexy. Paid a deposit from the first drawdown that we all put into the company. But the day the other two found out that it was Abu Dhabi, they both pulled out.
No.
Yeah, they said Abu Dhabi isn't sexy.
Yeah.
And then we had a three-way call
Right.
on a voice call, and they said that a Barrage family and friends funds gives us 28% IRR or 32%.
Okay.
And your IRR is 24% or something.
Right.
Well, now we all know what happened to a Barrage. So.
Yeah. So you did it completely by
So I
yourself.
had to get another mortgage on the house. I
Oh.
put more money in. Then I found another friend of mine who also was coming in earlier on.
Okay.
So there was actually three of them, three of
Right.
us in total. Four of us in total.
You had the likes of Tony Blair and Hillary
Yeah.
Clinton and all of them visiting. How did that feel when it first happened?
So I mean,
Sheikh Mohammed bin
quite
Zayed.
often it's very discreet, and they come, they literally call and say someone's coming, and can you? So I was there a lot of the times. A lot of times I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a privilege.
Yeah.
I mean, the best one was Hillary Clinton. I think in that situation, it was a big deal. She came with Secretary of State then, and she was very nice. She enjoyed her food. I had a photo op with her. I actually have a photo with her. So it was nice. But there's been lots and lots of people,
I'm
and it's
sure.
been great. Yeah.
So that move to the UAE, did you ever look back? I mean, is UAE home now? Is Dubai home now? Or is it home in London and home in Dubai?
It's a good question. I think definitely Dubai is home.
Okay.
UAE is home. But I miss London. I miss street life.
Yeah.
That's the bit I really miss. I miss street life. I miss the arts and culture piece. It's a growing scene here, but it's not. It's still very nascent. Yeah.
The next plan is what? Expansion in the UK, like you said?
Yeah. So we acquired. So we were originally the franchisees for the Middle East,
Sahih.
UAE, and then we've now acquired the global IP. So we own the brand globally
Right. Yeah.
as of
100%.
2019.
Right.
So, and then of course COVID came along. So we
But
had
I have to
2
talk
years.
about that because I read somewhere that in the first 60 days you were up to about 60% of the revenue. First 60 days of lockdown, you managed 60%.
At the end, within 60 days.
Within
yes,
60 days, you managed to get the 60% of the revenue. How
Yeah.
did that happen? Because COVID was, we all saw, it was worst time for tourism, worst time for food and beverage. How did you manage that?
The main thing is that the model we have is very flexible. Like, we are a retail business as well as a restaurant business. So while the restaurant business eventually became a delivery business, we could also deliver groceries. So the two together, and with most businesses during COVID, particularly grocery businesses, grocery delivery went through the roof. And like all those businesses, we also benefit from that bump. So we were quite slow online before. We quickly sat around and tried to get all our groceries.
The barcodes came.
Came. Groceries went on all the channels. InstaShop and
amazing how much a crisis can really put
and
you
we really did a lot of work on it. And so the retail sales, from being quite a small percentage of revenue, well, it's still largish percentage, became a much larger percentage. The only challenge with that was that obviously retail has lower margins. So if your selling restaurant menu business declines and retail takes over, your margin mix changes, which results in other challenges because your business is now geared for that lower margin mix. So COVID had all these crazy challenges which we had to deal with.
Are you back on track now?
Yeah, I think so. I think Abu Dhabi is still behind. We're still behind in Abu Dhabi, but Dubai is pretty much back on stream. Yes.
Right. Anybody who's watching this and thinks this is the time to enter, what would be your advice to them?
I think you need a really good concept. There are too many restaurants, and I don't just mean this in Dubai. Generally, around the world, everywhere you go, everybody's selling food from a kitchen. Differentiating yourself. I also think the days of chain restaurants, like the likes of Carluccio's that have disappeared, or, are very difficult. And I'm including us in this. You need to be really different. You need to be unusual. You need to drive a lot of food development. You need to be many things. You can't just be a mono revenue stream. So in our case, for example, we sell cheese, we sell groceries, we sell meat, we sell all kinds of different things. And we also sell those ingredients via the menu, because the menu uses some of those ingredients to cook with. So you have to be intelligent. You can't just have any old food concept anymore. The startup scene in Pakistan, I don't know how closely have you been watching it, but it's just been expanding even during the crisis of COVID. What would be your advice to anybody who's ready to kick that off, just like you did back in the day? Try and figure out what exactly is your USP. Where's your difference compared to the other people? And then how you can monetize that in terms of IP. Because the bit that even I overlooked when I was, younger is, where is the intellectual property? Where is the USP? And how can I monetize it later down the line? Because your business has two elements to it. One is the trading part, and one is the intellectual property part. Even though they're both linked. You could monetize one separately to the other. And a lot of people don't think about that. Have I created something unique? Have I created something distinct? And how can I evolve that alongside the business as well?
That's an interesting one. I think you're right. That can get missed out quite a lot. I was listening to one of your interviews, and you said, I rolled up my sleeves and I'd go serve the customers and I'd put the shutters down.
I did that.
How important is that for like an entrepreneur? How important is to get your hands dirty?
In my case, it was important because I wasn't in the food and beverage business. So actually rolling my hands up and running the pass when the store is busy and trying to understand how the customer flow works was important. I needed to get my hands dirty to understand what was going on. And concurrently, because we're a food service business serving customers, important customers in that first location, it was important for me to be visible and to a degree be a face of that business. I think it's important. I think it's important to really roll your sleeves up. I mean, particularly if you're leading a team. And you can't be a detached boss, I think.
Not in this business, at least.
Not in this business,
You've mentioned service and you've mentioned working with the team, but you do give a bigger score to the quality of your food in comparison to the quality of your service. What's with that? खाना ज़्यादा अच्छा होना ज़रूरी है, सर्विस जैसी भी हो या
No, I think
mediocre खाना और बेहतरीन
No, I
mediocre
think-
सर्विस बेहतरीन खाना
नहीं,
according to
नहीं,
you
नहीं,
चल
ऐसी
सकता है.
ऐसी बात नहीं. No,
Right.
the point is it's around skill set.
Right.
Kitchen is trained like military.
Yeah.
You know, kitchen has, you know, head chef, sous chef, you know, there's a cadre. It's
Right.
like the army,
Yeah.
right? And if they follow through that training program, they go up from being a dishwasher up to sous chef, and then they go up to, you know, head chef. I've always believed that the kitchen guys, because of their training and because of the way they go through the process, are always, if you hire the right people, they will always deliver. And one of the challenges we had is when we first set up this business, we brought in staff from, because the local market was very small, you know, when we opened. So we
Right.
brought staff from South Africa, from Romania, from all over to fill in our stores.
Wow.
And we paid them much higher than anybody else when we
course, yeah.
opened. But within 9 months, they all moved on to Zuma and Petit Maison. And I'd sometimes go to Zuma for lunch, and they'd say, "Hi, Mr. Yunib." And then I'd see like 9 of my staff in there running,
Was there
you
what
know.
poaching going on?
Yeah,
or,
because they'd interview them in my
Yeah.
store and take them away.
It was a nice ambience.
Yeah, and
good spot for interviews.
you know, in this sort of mid sector,
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult to retain good staff
Right.
and retain talent.
How do you maintain consistency across so many stores, considering there's a franchisee model also, now it's in different regions? How do you maintain that same standard of
Yeah.
food and service and everything else?
So it's a good question. A lot of people ignore, you know, this part of the business. There's a lot of work behind the scenes developing standard operating system.
Yeah.
Every recipe is documented.
Wow.
Everything is photographed. Every step is photographed.
When a business grows that much, it must take a toll on the family life. How was it for you? Did you think you missed out on anything while you were really ingrained in the process of setting up a business from pretty much from scratch?
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a point when, you know, I was coming home at 1 or 2 in the morning every day. I was driving into Abu Dhabi. I used to open the store in the morning, close the store at night. I even used to distribute the tips, you know, in the evenings because there was a dispute amongst the staff, you know. There was a lot of things that I did that, you know, that took me away from home. But the difference moving here was that over here I found that a weekend, even though we were operating at the weekend, a Friday was a Friday. So one thing was always clear is that now it's Sunday.
No more, no.
Now it's Sunday.
No more.
But a Friday was always a Friday historically, and I did always tend to get at least one clear day off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any of the kids walking in your shoe steps anytime
No,
soon?
never
No?
encouraged them. I'm not.
Really?
I'm not the guy who would encourage my kids to work for me. I want them to go and work outside the business, outside wherever they want, get their experience. And if they've got, you know, if they've got the nous and the chops, they can come back in on merit. Be happy
Has
to.
there ever been a conversation like that on the dining table, or that's a concept understood in the house?
It's understood.
It's understood,
a given
right?
fact that they're not going to get anything given to them on
Yeah.
a plate. They have to go and work. Yeah.
Lovely.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It
Thank
was a
you.
pleasure. Thank you for taking us through various aspects of
Thank
your
you.
life.